Ani, bonjour. Welcome to all of our friends. We are here in the KICC garden, and today we're going to talk about climate change. Aside from the really horrible and strange weather that we've all been experiencing, I have another concern that I haven't heard anybody talk about yet. And it's something we need to start giving thought to right now. And it's one of the reasons why the KICC is planning to build greenhouses as we get up and running and once we are able to move to our own property out of the city. We want to talk about the growing seasons and this climate change thing that is still new to all of us, something we're still getting used to. Not only did I realize that the seeds aren't all coming up the way they should. We had a baby watermelon that something dug it out and took it the other day, but I put some new seeds in the ground and we have our first, I don't know if it'll let you see these. Our zoom isn't working so good today. But we have our first baby watermelon that we're going to be protecting a little bit better, so hopefully it'll make it, and we're going to have watermelons for this season. These are the carrots, and they're coming along, they're growing, but slowly. Much slower than usual. This is our spinach, and we do have some sprouts, and we've done a second seeding already. The green beans seem to be liking this weather. They seem to be they're about the only thing we've planted that is really doing well as it normally would. And then we get to our lettuce bed. Let's get up close here and take a good look. This is our lettuce. It was planted at the same time as our green beans, which are not even sprouted yet, or blossomed yet, sorry. Which is normal. I mean, this is only Father's Day weekend, so we were not expecting to see our lettuce going to seed already. And then we move over here, we've got the butter crunch lettuce. Again, really slow growth and burned leaves. So let's talk about this climate change thing and what it's doing to our gardens. And what are we going to do about that going forward to ensure that we have a food supply and that it's large enough to keep us all fed? You know, because I am out here with all of you, I am not going to run away. I am going to try to zoom in and show you that we have a visitor. I know some of you are spider fans. No, we're not going to be able to zoom in. Sorry. We have a visitor. Our spiders have been allowed to stay because we have a gypsy moth caterpillar infestation this year, and the spiders are helping a lot with that. So back to our climate change. What are we going to do? How are we going to make sure that we are going to eat if we are planting our gardens and doing all of the things that we have always known how to do, the things that we've done for decades, the things we've done for centuries, and they're no longer working? Let's take a little bit of a walk. We're going to go past the teepee, which is going to get fixed tomorrow. We're going to stop and say hi to Rob for a minute. Hi, Rob. Our teepee is going to stop leaning tomorrow. And we'll go past the swimming pool that needs to be cleaned up after the storms because it left us with a really nasty mess inside. Oh, speaking of gypsy moth caterpillars, there we go. There's another one. I've been out here with soap water spray, dish soap water spray, trying to knock them off of the swimming pool, but they are really everywhere in this beautiful birch tree. And that's not helping. But let's walk up a little bit further. We're not going to go all the way across the street, but enough to see the oak trees. because this really stands out for us. All of our trees are leafed out. Again, we're at the end of June, Father's Day weekend, well, middle of June this year. Father's Day weekend and into our summer, the beginning of our summer season. And if we look at all of the trees in the cemetery across the street, everything is leafed out and full, except for the oak trees. They have very faint leaves on them, and we'll be taking a walk over there maybe tomorrow to get a closer look to see if these are bug-eaten or if, as I suspect, the leaves are just very young and not fully opened yet. But it's something worth noting here in south central Wisconsin. Our oak trees are not doing what they normally do. And this fits with the same problem we just looked at in the gardens, where plants that were only put in a few weeks ago are already going to seed. Well, oak trees provide acorns. So on top of oxygen, which we need those leaves for, this is also another food source. So let's take a walk back and have a little bit more of a talk here about climate change and what we're going to do. We are going to have to unlearn and relearn so many things that we already are confident that we know. And that's going to it's going to take admitting that we have a real problem here. And if we don't start addressing it, we're not going to survive. All of the talk about conservation efforts and green living and sustainability, none of those things are going to matter if we have no food. None of those things are going to matter if our trees die and leave us with no oxygen to breathe. So if we can approach the problem of gardening with greenhouses and maybe potentially biodomes, how are we going to save our trees? I'm worried. And as a steward of this planet, obligated from birth by my culture, by my teachings, by my ancestors, by the Creator who brought me here to help take care of all of this, I have to really say I'm worried. I have plenty of ideas on how we can work on the food supply shortage and things that we can implement to help save our food, but I'm kind of at a loss about how to save our oxygen. For the immediate moment, I'm going to encourage everybody to plant trees. If the oak trees are suffering this year, then we need to plant every other species of tree and hope that our scientists are aware of this and working on it already in secret so that nobody's panicked. But just kind of panning around the back of the yard to the street behind us in the subdivision, we can see a lot of trees. A lot of them are maple, and those look to be very healthy and thriving. Our own remaining maple tree here at the KICC, that is healthy and thriving. Enough that it's shading out our lilacs and our roses. Let's take a walk back by the lilacs, because those were affected this year too. And I'm sure others in the area noticed that we had a really, really short lilac season. Here in Juneau, Wisconsin, it lasted about 3 days, maybe 4. We forget sometimes that these are our brothers and our sisters, and just like we need certain things to survive and our bodies are regulated off of the patterns of the environment around us, so are our plant brothers and sisters. They rely on these weather cycles to tell them when to wake up and go to sleep, when to reproduce, when to hibernate a little bit longer or wake up a little bit sooner. The weather patterns tell them everything. And with our weather patterns so thrown off this year, they're very confused. Lily of the Valley. There is a huge bed of Lily of the Valley under my lilacs. And the Lily of the Valley usually goes a week or two longer than the lilacs do. And those are finished for the year already too. And I'm not sure if we're going to get a second season. I don't know if the plants are adapted enough to be capable of that yet, or if this is really going to be the end of it. We can see how much of the lilac has died just over the last few years. And this rapid bloom and right into hibernation, and here's some of the finished flowers. One of the things that some of these plants rely on for reproduction is seed production. Well, if they're blooming and ending within days, then they're not able to produce their seeds, which means that these plants aren't then able to reproduce. I will take some still photos of our lettuce plants for everybody so that we can get them zoomed in enough to see clearly. But I'll be watching those really close to see if they actually produce any seeds, because I did see some blossoms. But we do need to talk about how we're going to survive what's already here. This isn't something that's coming anymore. It's here, and it's affecting us every single day. People are ending up homeless and devastated, losing everything except each other. And in some cases, even that, we're losing lives because of the weather patterns, the severity. The last storm that we had, I stood in the back door and I watched the clouds swirling up above. In all of my 52 years, as many storms as I have watched, I've never seen the clouds do what they were doing this last time. It was really, really strange. All around us, the cities all around us had storm damage, some of it pretty extensive, but here we had almost nothing. We were out prepping for all of the high winds and the hail. I was in a panic over golf ball size hail piercing the canvas of the teepee, but we were spared. And while I was expressing concern about the storms and the teepee, I do want to also let everybody know that one of the few things that I don't worry about with the teepee in a storm is the wind. Unless we actually get tornadoes where it is swirling enough to pick everything up, my teepee is pretty safe from the wind. The design of the teepee allows for the wind to bypass it. They're pretty amazing structures, which is why I am so attached to mine. And it stays up here in the yard when we don't need to take it somewhere for an event. We keep it up all winter and we use it regularly. It's a little plushed out inside. We have carpeting and furniture, electricity, internet, wood stove. Let's take a quick peek, because we're going to sit inside here for a few minutes and talk about the climate change issue. So, some light, liner, ozone. We had a visitor who decided to share some of the insulation under the carpeting and then leave it behind. And we have an air mattress and a table, our wood stove, wood pile. We're pretty comfortable in here. So let's kick back a little bit, and I'm just going to set this camera down and let's talk. I'm discovering that I have to relearn all of my gardening skills and techniques. I have to pay closer attention and listen to Mother Earth and the things that she's telling me, because if I don't, our garden is just going to look pretty for a little while and then it's going to be gone. We're not going to get anything productive for food out of it because this weather is just very strange. And as much as we are distressed and baffled by it, our plant friends and families, they're just as baffled by it. And if we can no longer rely so heavily on them for our food until they figure out how to adjust and adapt, they're either going to need our help or we're going to have to find another form of food source. I would like to ask everybody who's following us here at the KICC to pay attention to your gardens this year, whether it's flower gardens, vegetable gardens, herb gardens. Watch your trees, especially those with oak trees, and send us some messages here on the blog and tell us what you're seeing. Are you watching the same patterns where you live? And let us know what state you're in, or what part of what state you're in. Let's start tracking this ourselves and see if we can come up with our own answers and help each other to survive. Because at the end of the day, what we teach here at the KICC is Native American cultural lifestyle. And it's not just about survival skills, it's about creativity and adaptation. It's about how to apply the knowledge that we gain, how to find the knowledge that we need, and it's about working together, always together. We understand in our culture that we were not put on this planet to be alone. Community is vital to our survival, and our ancestors have known that since the beginning of time. So here at the KICC, we are going to promote every sense of community we can, and we want to make sure to define community not as people that have to gather in person, but as people who gather as a collective in any which way. If there is communication and assistance going on, sharing of knowledge and information and experience, troubleshooting together and spending time together, laughing as well as crying, worrying and celebrating, all of the things that make up our lives, all of that sharing, that's what makes a community. So even though right now we are mostly still online due to COVID and this new outbreak of monkeypox and whatever else is coming next, along with our really strange extreme weather, we're going to stay here online with you this summer, and we're going to help build a community here, and we're going to help each other through this. We're going to rely on experience as it comes to us, and more join our conversations and, want to help. And when we here at the KICC are asking for help, we're not just asking for your money. Yes, we need funding so that we can function. We are out of funding, so what we are working off of right now is coming out of our own pockets, and we're trying to keep everything as minimal as possible for expense because we're all poor. But we're not asking just for donations and money or supplies. We're asking for your help with knowledge and time. We're asking for your time in learning about us and our culture and all of these different things that we are seeing happen around us before we're hearing even our scientists talking about it. We're asking for you to contribute your effort, your energies, your prayers. We want to all come together and help make sure that we can, as many as possible, can survive what we're still facing. Climate change, the effects of it are still relatively new. This is something that is permanent and is going to get increasingly worse every year. So if it's bad this year, where are we going to be at this time next year? So a shout out to everybody from the KICC. Have a happy Father's Day weekend to all of the dads and the grandpas out there. And we hope you have a safe and fun weekend. come back and join us again soon and share your weekend events and adventures with us. Feel free to comment on our blog and, bring us your ideas and your observations, and start watching your plants and your trees, and let us know if this is happening everywhere, or if it's just here in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes. The more information we can put together, the better picture that we get when we start assembling this puzzle. Because this is going to be troubleshooting 101 going forward every day for the rest of our lives. So while we work to slow down the climate change and hopefully find an end to the worsening of climate change at some point, let's make sure we don't forget to keep our focus on surviving it so that we can see what that end result looks like. So happy Father's Day, happy Saturday, everybody.